Today this is about routines. Most golfers copy routines without understanding what routines are actually for. Looking at the target twice, taking a breath, wiggling the club, that is not a real routine. The real routine is what protects your mind from improvising under intensity of not failing the shot, because the moment you start hoping to feel ready, the round starts controlling you. And the dangerous part is this: many golfers believe they have a routine while repeating the same mental chaos before every important shot. This is about recognizing what tends to disrupt his execution. Now, all of this has to do with recognizing first what tends to disrupt execution and beginning to build a repeatable sequence instead. Because confidence without structure disappears quickly on the course. So welcome to Fairway and Focus, a channel built to help golfers finally play closer to their real level on the course, because many golfers already have more technique than they manage to use consistently during a round. And in golf as in life, the challenge is not avoiding interference, it's knowing what to do when it appears. So now, before we start, just a quick note. Yes, throughout these sessions, I will occasionally mention the tools and programs we created around this theme, around this work. The first is called See the Shot, because everybody tells golfers to visualize, to breathe, to stay calm, but very few people explain how to actually use those tools properly, according, of course, to the kind of golfer you are and the kind of interference you experience on the course. And the second program we have is Mental Golf Accelerator. This program is really about helping golfers building their own process, not copy someone else's routine, which is what we are talking about today, but create a personal system that protects their technique from the things that usually distracts them during a round. You identify where your game normally starts drifting, and we help guide you step by step to build a more repeatable way back. All right, now let's get into today's session. And don't forget, the most important thing in mental golf is not copying another golfer, is understanding yourself. The subject of the day is routines. And let me start by saying, not everybody visualizes the same way. Routine matters, but the wrong routine creates more interference than if you don't have one. Some golfers see the shot, others feel the shot, others hear the strike they want, and many golfers spend years frustrated simply because they are trying to concentrate in somebody else's language. While talking about create routines, telling a field player to see the shot clearly can sometimes create more tension, not less. I think routines are one of the most misunderstood things in golf, because many golfers think routines are just habits, little rituals, practice swings, touching the glove, looking at the target twice, breathing dramatically like they are diffusing a bomb. But experienced golfers understand something deeper. A routine is not there to impress people. It is there to bring attention back, because there is a moment during every round where the mind quietly leaves the shot, and most golfers do not even notice when it happens. The body is still there, the club is still there, but attention, it's already in the bunker, already on the scorecard, already replaying the previous hole, already imagining the next disaster. And now the shot is being played without full presence. This is where routines become important, not because golf needs superstition. Golf already has enough of that, but because the brain loves recognition. The brain loves patterns, loves shortcuts. That is how habits form, that is how reactions form, and that is also how focus can return faster. When something is repeated consistently, the nervous system starts recognizing, aha, we have been there before. And that matters enormously under intensity, because under the intensity of wanting to hit a good shot, the brain starts searching for safety. That is why golfers suddenly rush or freeze or overthink or lose structure completely. The body is trying to protect itself, which is slightly unfortunate because sometimes it protects itself directly into the leg or something. And this is why routines matter so much. Not because they guarantee perfect shots, but because they shorten the distance back to focus. That is the real purpose. Now, here is where things become very interesting. And honestly, this may relieve a lot of golfers listening right now. Not everybody concentrates the same way. Not everybody visualizes the same way. And this changes everything, because many golfers spend years frustrated, trying to force themselves into somebody else's mental style. One player says, I see the entire shot shape perfectly. And wonderful. Another player hears that and thinks, well, I see absolutely nothing. And immediately they believe they are doing mental golf incorrectly. But maybe visualization is simply not their strong doorway into focus. That matters a lot, because some golfers are visual. They genuinely see trajectories, shot tracers, windows in the sky. Others are field players. They feel rhythm, tempo, compression, they feel balance. Some players hear the strike they want, the sound of a clear contact, that pow, the sound of the putt falling, and some golfers need movement, a physical cue, a breath, a trigger, a grounding gesture. This is why routines cannot simply be copied, because routines need to match the way your attention behaves under pressure. That is a huge distinction. And honestly, many golfers create more interference trying to follow routines that do not fit them. Imagine telling a field player, no, you must see the exact shot tracer perfectly. Meanwhile, internally the golfer is thinking, I can't barely see my car keys half of the time. And that creates tension. And tension is not focus. That is why I always say the routine should reduce interference, not become another task to fail at. That changed the whole conversation, because now we stop asking what routine should golfers use, and we start asking what helps this golfer return faster. Completely different question. And this is where routines stop becoming generic and start becoming personal. Now, here is something else many golfers do not fully understand. The shot often starts too early, long before the swing. Sometimes the shot starts while walking to the ball, sometimes on the cart, sometimes after the previous mistake. Sometimes it starts after seeing another player hit first, sometimes after hearing this is for par. Well, very helpful information. And this matters because once attention starts drifting, the golfer usually does one of two things: rush the shot or stays trapped over it too long. And the rush type golfer often moves before attention fully arrives. The overthinking type golfer waits so long, attention starts aging visibly over the ball. The loose type golfer slowly loses discipline during the round, and the never quite ready type golfer keeps searching for certainty that golf never promised anybody. Which kind of golfer are you? Tell me in the comments, please. And now something important happens. Once golfers recognize their own pattern, routines suddenly make sense. Because now the routine is no longer random. Now it becomes medicine. Now the golfers understands, aha, this part of my sequence exists because this is what usually catches me. Huge breakthrough. And this is why the best golfers restart when focus breaks. Watch professionals carefully. They stop. They back away. They restart the sequence. They recommit. That is not weakness. That is awareness. Experienced golfers know something many players still ignore. Continuing the shot after focus disappears is usually more dangerous than restarting. And honestly, most amateur golfers do the opposite. They panic slightly, feel awkward, and rush the shot because they do not want people waiting. Meanwhile, the group behind is still discussing sandwiches and scorecards. Nobody cares as much as you think. And this is where routines begin transforming your golf, because now you are no longer improvising emotionally before every shot. Now you have a structure, a place for attention to go, a way back to focus. And once golfers experience this, something very subtle starts changing. Tempo settles. Decision making becomes simpler. Commitment to the shot improves, and the round feels less chaotic. Not perfect, but more usable. That is the important word, usable, because whatever level your technique is today, it deserves to appear at its highest available level. And routines help create the conditions for that to happen more often. Not magically, but systematically. This is why repetition matters, not robotic repetition, intentional repetition, because repetition creates recognition, as I said before, and recognition reduces hesitation. This is why certain cues become powerful. One breath, one look, one physical trigger, one consistent entry into the shot, always the same. The brain starts recognizing. Okay, we know this sequence, I know what to do with this. And familiarity creates stability. This is also why random routines usually fail, because many golfers build routines backwards. They copy behaviors without understanding why those behaviors exist. And eventually, the routine becomes theater, not structure. You can always tell the golfer has 4 practice swings, 2 releasals, 3 target looks, and absolutely no commitment whatsoever. That is not a routine. That is tourism, maybe. A real routine has intention. It protects attention. It simplifies decision, okay? It unleashes your movements. And most importantly, it gives the golfer a repeatable way back when interference appears. That is the real transformation. You stop arriving at the ball mentally scattered and start arriving with something familiar to follow. You stop depending entirely on confidence and start depending more on structure, because you don't have confidence all the time, and your game cannot depend on your mood. So you stop hoping concentration appears by luck and start building conditions for it intentionally. This is what routines, this is what having a system makes for your goal. And that is when golf starts feeling completely different. Less random, less emotionally exhausting, less like surviving your own thoughts for 4 hours, okay? And maybe one of the most powerful shifts of all is this. You stop fearing interference as much. That thought, I can't be nervous. I want to make a good shot, but maybe I'm going to be nervous again. Now, you know how it happens. Starting to think that thought, I know what usually happens here. And if you know what usually happens, you can prepare for it. That changes everything because awareness creates choice. So if you know what used to happen, it's up to you if you have your own choice or not. Choice creates structure, and structure protects technique. Now, before we finish today, let me leave you with 3 simple moves you can start using immediately. Not to become perfect, just to begin building awareness. First, discover your concentration language. Think, do you see the shot? Do you feel the shot? Do you hear the strike? Do you need a physical cue? You experiment. Do not force yourself into somebody else's mental style. Second thing, repeat 1 return cue before important shots. Not because it is magic, but because repetition creates recognition. And recognition shortens the distance back to your focus area. Third, restart when attention leaves. Please, if you feel that you are not focused, you stop and you restart. Not emotionally, but practically. If focus breaks, restart the sequence. Experienced golfers do this constantly. And once you begin doing that, you will notice something very interesting. The round stops controlling you as much. You start recovering faster. You start thinking clearer, reacting less, and slowly you stop feeling like concentration is something mysterious. Now it becomes trainable. Now it becomes part of your process. And this is exactly why we built Mental Golf Accelerator. You can find the link in the first comment. Not to give golfers random routines, but to help them build a personal sequence that matches the way their own attention behaves under the intensity of not wanting to fail the shot. Because the way back to focus should match the golfer returning to it. And if today showed you what starts changing when routines stop being random and start become personal, that is exactly why we created. Because golf does not need a perfect brain. It needs a repeatable way back. And in golf, as in life, that changes far more than people think. And if you are still here, I want to thank you and ask you to like this content to receive more guidance, because in golf as in life, like I like to say, recognizing what usually happens and have an anticipated plan to use it in your favor is halfway to success. Thank you and see you next time. Thank you.